Hey everybody, it's your favorite Paladin Chirpy, and welcome back to another episode of Zero to Hero. We're starting off this week at 390 item level, and we are opening our vault to see what we got from our previous week. And it's a pretty obvious choice here between a cloak and a ring. It's a pretty decent ring, pretty cloak. So we're going to go ahead and take the 415 item level ring. Pretty big upgrade compared to the other rings that we have. So we're going to replace our 372 ring, and off to a great start for our week. We also get a plus 16 key to start off the week, which is really awesome. So we can start farming our primal concentrated infusions for 418 spark gear. So that's really awesome too. And hey guys, remember, if you like the videos, if you like the channel, be sure to like and subscribe. A lot of you guys aren't subscribed. It's free for you, and it really helps me out. Thank you guys so much. We end up running AZURE vaults a couple of times today, and they all have varying degrees of success, so I recommend you stick through to the end of the video just to make sure you don't miss any of the shenanigans that we go through, because as you know, shenanigans are a very, very common thing on this series, and today is no exception for that. I decided that for this key, we're going to do the 100% trash before second boss route, and I have a little bit of issues getting aggro right at the start here, but I'm able to pick it all up, and I like pulling this really big. This is what I'm going to be doing on the higher key levels, so I want to get as much practice in as possible doing this pull. And also, doing these big pulls gives me a pretty good idea of how well my team will manage the CCs that need to be done and stops and everything else that need to be done to actually time this key properly. So we get through this first pull, and it's not as bad as I thought, but we don't end up clearing Thundering, and I live it somehow, but like, I can't go out to range to clear Thundering in this situation. Like, if I do and I turn these mobs, I just Piercing Shard the entire team. So, that just really sucks there. Right here, we have probably the worst time kill of the whole dungeon. I linked the route twice before we started the dungeon, and three of the people on my team decide to jump down, and I'm up here with just the healer. And it takes them forever to realize that I'm not jumping down and that we're fighting over here. You can notice on the mini-map, they're just kind of sitting around waiting, so we lose so much time right here just doing this pull. Even our chat points out everyone jumped. If you look at the top of my screen, I have the little black box there that is my combat timer. So this one pull takes almost 2 minutes to complete, absolutely just tanking our time on this key. And I mean, like, that's just super, super shitty. And then they continue to run down. I'm spam pinging the mini-map. I'm saying, please follow me. Like, I linked the route twice for this reason. I let a whelp walk into me while I'm typing to my group, like, hey, we're not done up here, come back. And they finally end up coming back, and we get this pull done, but, like, we're just wasting so much time. Like, just in these groups, especially, just a little tip if you're playing a DPS or a healer or whatever, just follow your tank. If your tank isn't going somewhere, why are you going somewhere? You're not pulling the mobs without your tank. And I literally linked the route twice. I linked the route twice before this pull, or before the dungeon even started. And we're still having issues with this. So I'm a little bit tilted at this point. I'm a little bit frustrated. But, you know, I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is the plus 16. Our damage is pretty good. So we could probably still time this. No big deal. Unfortunately, we don't end up timing this key, and we're over time by just 20 seconds. So imagine if people just followed me and followed the route that I had listed out. We would have timed this key, and it would have been awesome, because then we wouldn't have to walk back in here for the rest of the week. But we get 14 points from it anyways, and we go into another AZURE vault back to back. I make sure to link the route, make sure everyone looks at the route. We're not having these shenanigans again. We are doing this key. We're going to try doing the exact same route that we did in the previous key, but this time we have a bit of a different composition. And this composition, I made sure to pick people who are all on alts, so at least have some experience, and that gives me some kind of hope that, you know, we'll be able to actually get through this, use stops properly and everything else. But man, was I wrong. I couldn't have been more wrong about the people that I picked, and, well, you'll see. This first pulse doesn't start off great. We miss a bunch of kicks. People stand in the piercing shards. You know, we're all fighting for our life over here, and it's not too bad. Like, our Shadow Priest is absolutely cranking. He's actually the lowest item level person in the group, and his main is 3200, so it kind of makes sense. And the reason that I'm showing you guys these first pulls in these dungeons, or the bigger pulls in these dungeons, is that way you can see the contrast that comes in later when we run this again. Because that's right, we're not done running AZURE vaults yet. we run it again after this key later on in the day, and you'll see the contrast of how different the runs go. This is where the whole run kind of goes to shit, and I get raged at really hard for doing this pull. The Demon Hunter goes in on me after this, but let's just watch and see what happens. So again, they all saw the route. I pinged the route for everybody, and I said, hey, I'm pulling these in, get kicks on the Waking Banes as they come in. So maybe I should have just stayed on the elementals in the beginning and made sure I soloed both the Waking Banes. But, you know, these guys all have experience. I expected them to be able to handle that. I noticed this Arcane Elemental off on the side that I wasn't able to secure thread on, so I pull it in. And our Demon Hunter's been dead. He's running back. I'm about to die. I pop a bubble last second, and I somehow survive here. And then we just keep on trying to get through this pool. If you look at the meters right now, our mage is doing nothing, and our Demon Hunter hasn't been here, so he's doing nothing either. And I have to kite like hell because we're not using any stops. I line of sight one of these piercing shard casts, and I'm fighting for my absolute life here. And unfortunately, you know, I end up dying. I run out of things. We're not doing any stops on the piercing shards. Nobody's doing damage. And the pack just lives too long. I ran out of buttons. I used every single button I had. Kings, Ardent, Tier, Wings. I had nothing left. And, you know, this is just where the run dies. And I don't want to spend another hour doing this key, because we've already had issues like this on the previous pulls, and I'm just like, nah. I hate leaving keys. I really do. I think it's kind of bad manners, especially at this level when people are trying to farm the primal focuses. But I just don't want it. And also the Demon Hunter's yelling at me already in chat, you know, saying, this is an MDI, bro. You don't got to do pulls like that. And it's just, I'm not doing small pulls because small pulls are super boring, and I'm trying to learn how to maximize my cooldowns and my DPS in order to actually be able to push the higher level keys. And if I'm not practicing that, I'm not going to get there, and I'm not going to be able to maximize myself. So we hearth out, people start leaving, it's whatever. The Demon Hunter's raging at me in chat. I'm not going to tell you exactly everything that he says because that'll get me banned. But yeah, he wasn't a very nice guy. But it's no big deal. You know, this is how things go sometimes. So we end up back in LFG for a while, and we're just applying to a bunch of groups, just trying to get any 16s that we need. I don't really want to do anything under a 16 because I feel like they're kind of a waste of time right now, because I know I can tank the 16s just fine, and those also lead me to getting 418 spark crafted gear. So that's what I'm really trying to prioritize, just getting 16 plus keys. And, you know, this is just how it goes. We max out our LFG queue, and we just have to play the waiting game and pray somebody takes us, right? But, you know, we just keep getting declined, and I understand I'm under geared, and I have pretty low IO comparatively to a lot of other people. I don't have like all 15s done or all 16s done, so I'm not even KSM yet. I get it from the other people's perspective that they don't want to bet their key on a tank that looks like they have no experience and no gear. So it makes sense. I end up whispering the leader of this Court of Stars here, telling them that I go zoom zoom very fast, and it ends up working, and I get into the group. But if you've been watching our series so far, you know that Court of Stars is one of our highest shenanigan rate keys, and this one is absolutely not an exception. As we make our way to our first boss here, you can see that somebody gets a little bit too close, and I know it wasn't me because I didn't have aggro these mobs. The bars were red. So somebody else ended up pulling these guys in, and now we have to deal with extra traps on top of the boss, which I'm completely fine with. But in lower experienced groups, they don't really know what to do in these situations, and people end up panicking. So I end up just sitting on the Arcanist the whole time, making sure that that's not an issue for the group. I make sure I'm getting the kicks, I make sure I'm stunning it, you know, make sure I'm getting as many stops as possible while also doing the boss mechanics. And not everybody is good at multitasking like that, so we end up losing a member here. And, you know, that's just how it goes. So we end up keep going, and we are able to finish off the ads, but not without losing another member. So we have another 20% to go on this boss before he's finally dead. And we do end up persevering, but it takes a little while. If I showed you every shenanigan that happened in this key, I could make an entire video out of it. But instead, we'll just skip ahead to the last boss, and we didn't time this key. There was too many shenanigans, so many butt pulls again, people not getting kicks, not getting stops, and, you know, it was a little bit of a learning experience that people I can't rely on people for any kicks at all, because Searing Glares were going off if I used my Avenging Shield, so that's just something that I learned I need to save all the time. On the bright side, though, we did end up getting a piece of loot for our shoulders and 22 IO, so we look a little bit better, we get a little bit more eye level, and hopefully that helps us get into more groups down the line. We end up getting a group for 16 Shadow Moon Burial Grounds here, and I go AFK to go get some water while the group is forming. We're just looking for another DPS, and then I get really BM'd here, unfortunately, and I get booted out of the group. I whisper the priest and ask them why they kicked me out of the group, just so I know what's going on, because I just came back and I didn't see anything, but they didn't give me a response, unfortunately. But luckily, we get into a 17 Shadow Moon Burial Grounds, so, you know, to hell with those guys. We're going into a bigger key, but already we're off to a rough start, because right before the key even starts, our healer goes offline. We wait a couple minutes for him to come back, but he just doesn't come back. We end up replacing the healer that went offline with another one, and we get to our old nemesis, Bone Maw. And of course, I just get ping-ponged here. I could have bubbled, but I wasn't expecting to get 3 hits, and both of our B-reses die, me and the Warlock, so it's mega unfortunate. We end up having to wipe out the pull here and run all the way back. So we're speeding across. We still have 10 minutes on the clock, so there's a chance we could still 2-chest this, which would be pretty awesome. And, I mean, this was my bad. I entered this key. I could have played it 100% better. I could have done a lot more. I could have bubbled. I could have also just not got hit by the frontal, and then not got hit by another frontal, and then not got hit by a third frontal. But, you know, we like to keep it kind of spicy. But we make it through the rest of the boss, just, you know, patchworking it down, fighting through it, slamming through this boss, and we don't get hit by anything else. Thank God. And, you know, a little bit of a redemption arc here. We make our way to Ner'zhul right after, and we still end up +2ing this key with 2 minutes and 46 seconds left on the clock. So I'm super happy about that. We get 53 score from it. We're up to 1911 now. So we're only 600 away from our Keystone Hero achievement. And we don't even have every key done yet. The group decides to stick around, most of them anyways, and we head into Algathar Academy 15. This is my key from the depleted Azure vaults that we ran earlier. And I decided to pull this entire room. I'm pretty confident in the group. The DPS all stayed, so I know that this DPS can handle this pull, so I'm pretty excited to be able to actually pull all of this. This is what I want to be doing on the higher level keys as well. So this is just better practice. And you can see the pull's going pretty well right now. I'm cranking on 200k DPS. The rest of the DPS are catching up here. I lose aggro on one of the skitterflies, but it's no big deal. I'm able to grab it back, but unfortunately we lose our healer to a swirly. So now I have to like try to play out of my mind to stay alive here. And I'm able to live for quite a while using all my cooldowns. You know, I get bubble taunt here, and we are trying to kite this out as much as we can. Things are starting to rage, things are starting to hurt a lot, and we just fall. I did have Eye of Tears still available, but I really don't think that 20% DR for a couple seconds would have saved me. So we end up running it all the way back. And we try the pull again. This time we leave one pack out of the group, and we're able to just push it down. And, you know, I'm not really too worried about the time. We have pretty good DPS as a group. So in most cases, you know, losing Lust, losing all your cooldowns, that would be the end of the key right there. You just go next. But because this is a 15, and because I know that we can do pretty good DPS, we stick it out. We finish the rest of the pull without any issues, and we go on to boss, which we also have no issues with. We mow him down, no problem. Right after we finish this guy, we go on towards the next one, finish the bird boss, no problem. Everything is squeaky clean here. Run is going back to pace. We're catching back up on our timer. We get to Veximus, no problem. Kill this guy, and all we have left to do is a couple trash pulls and the final boss with 13 minutes left. And we have no problem doing that either. We still end up +2ing the key despite our first initial wipe. And we get +18 score out of it as well. So we're moving our way up. We're getting some IO. We pushed up to another key, and we end up running back Court of Stars, 17. We don't time it with 54 seconds left, but I learned in this key that I just need to pull smaller in Court of Stars. People aren't used to the pulls that you need to do on 24, 25, 26 in order to time it. And that's all I've been practicing on my rogue. So I don't need to be doing those pulls on a 17, and if I pulled a little bit slower, we would have timed this key. I could have prevented a wipe or two. We lose people that stuck with us for a little while here, except for the mage. The warrior and the warlock we did 2 or 3 keys with, and it was pretty cool getting a group that wanted to play together. I go AFK here while the mage starts to recruit for our next run, our redemption back into Azure Vaults. So we end up getting a druid healer while I'm still AFK, and I'm just sitting here. I just got back. I check out. Oh, cool, we got a healer. We check in the LFG, see who's up in here, see if there's any big gamers. We end up getting a warrior next, and then right after we get the warrior, we finally fill into our full composition, and we are ready to run Azure Vaults again. So we have a pretty decent composition here. Not really too worried about it. And I notice at this point that the druid that he invited is actually a guildie of mine from my rogue. And, you know, if you watch the first episode, we have a rule of not playing with any BNet friends, any guildies or anything like that, with the exception of if they are invited by somebody else while we're already in the group. We don't apply to any groups that have our friends in them, and we do not go out of our way to ever play with any friends or anything like that. But this wasn't a rule break, because we were already in the group, and we were also AFK when the guy got invited. So, you know, that's pretty cool. He says shh, because he knows that he's part of the thing now, but you can see in our chat even, Nally has been following the series for a little while, and she even says that it's legal. So, we didn't break any rules. We got a healer, we got the rest of the group. No bias was involved in any of these invites. And also, you can see we had crap luck on Azure Vaults the entire day today. And hopefully this one will start to turn it around. So we get everybody here, and we get ready to go, and we get ready to finally send this Azure Vault. And I'm hoping that this one goes better than the last. So let's see how this first pull goes in comparison to the last runs. We do the exact same thing. We pull the flowers in. We get our wings going. I should have pre-generated some holy power, but I did not. And we get everything grouped up. Unfortunately, one of these piercing shard guys is on a weird angle, and our mage is standing pretty in front here. So that's not really good positioning, unfortunately. So we end up losing the mage while he's in his cooldowns. Not really a good time. But aside from that, you know, the pull goes pretty well. And even better, we see our thundering timer, and, you know, it's getting pretty close, but they know to clear. And we don't have to run out, we don't get stunned, and this is already a lot better. We get to the pull here where we lost 2 minutes of our timer in our first Azure Vaults of the day. And we do actually have some shenanigans come out here, unfortunately. One of the whelps gets aggroed, so we have to improvise here and adapt. So we have to go in here, make sure we grab all the aggro on all these mobs, as well as make sure no piercing shard casts go off towards the group. So I get up a Hodge last second on that Crystal Fury to stop the piercing shard from going anywhere else. I bubble taunt to stay in this circle just to make sure I can keep aggro on everything, because I know I don't have a lot of aggro on the whole pack, and we're kind of cranking damage right now. So I use my blinding light, make sure that everyone stays alive, make sure I stay alive by not taking too many stacks of piercing shards. One thing I do mess up here though is I'm not kiting with consecration, so I'm taking a lot more damage than necessary here, but luckily our healer is able to save my life, and it's not the end of the world. We do have our mage stuck as a flower here. We weren't able to get the kick. I could have probably actually got the kick if I wasn't too concerned about dying, and I probably wouldn't have been concerned about dying if I was just better. But, you know, we're still learning. I'm just very happy here because we ended up cleaning up the pull. We didn't have a wipe, and this was just an unexpected pull that, you know, maybe I'll end up doing purposefully on higher keys with more coordinated groups, of course, but this was awesome. You know, it ended up being a little bit of a time save, and now we get to my favorite pull of the dungeon, where the Demon Hunter raged at me for doing the exact same thing as before. So I pull everything, we line of sight these first elemental casts, we pull everything in, wings, divine toll, we're making sure that we grab everything here. I'm stopping the Waking Bane casts. Unfortunately, I do end up sending a shard towards our warrior, so that kind of sucks for him, sorry buddy. But he lives, so that's pretty awesome. And I end up kiting all these guys into this corner. And look how easy this is, man. We're all doing damage. Everything's staying, you know, everyone on our team is alive. I don't even have aggro on those 2 whelps until right now. And this is just so much cleaner, so much nicer. This is my favorite pull in the whole dungeon. Like, doing these big pulls successfully and cleanly feels so good. And we have no issue. So, am I the asshole for doing this pull in previous keys? Or are people just not aware of what you need to do in order to time keys? I digress. We finished the key, we +2 it even with 3 minutes left on our +2 timer. So we went from depleting 2 Azure Vaults today to +2ing a 16. Am I really the issue? I don't know. You tell me. Let me know down in the comments. I'm sure I'm the issue in some of these cases, but you know, we're at 394 item level. We have 2-piece. We're looking pretty good. And let's go on to our next key. We end up doing our first hauls of the week. We get invited to a Halls 17 here. And, you know, this is a brand new group. We lose our mage, we lose the rest of the people. And I go for the triple pull in the beginning, as always, because this is what you do on higher keys, and that's what I'm practicing. We end up getting a trap on the other Thundercaller, that's fine. I lose aggro right off the rip here because I don't know why, but I do. Nobody dies though, so it's awesome. I sit on the Thundercaller to make sure no cast goes off, because that's the only thing that will really kill the other people in the group here. And, you know, he does no casts, so seems pretty successful. Once we get that guy down, though, I try to range this breath so that way I can get to the Thundercaller and pull him in. And something happens here. I think that the DK ends up ripping aggro from me in a second. I'm not quite sure. I used my bubble, and it might have been that bug where he, like, you drop aggro for a second when you bubble. You'll see right here. I pop the bubble and he dies, but he also ended up getting a Thundercaller cast, but I don't know why he had aggro before that. Then everything goes fine up until this pull. So we're at Solston and Olmir, and I pull this guy in during the first Eye of the Storm. Everyone lives, everything is fine. And now all we have to do is dodge balls. So we're dodging the balls, we're waiting for the next Eye of the Storm cast. I keep the guy pretty stationary to help the team, you know, manage it. And somebody gets hit by a ball, so that's a death right there. And then our healer's low. He dies. You know, now we're stuck in a raging Eye of the Storm. There's no chance that anybody else lives here. I try to fight it out, and I try to keep the pool alive until the rest of the team gets here. And I'm sure if I was a better prop pally, I probably could have lived. But unfortunately, I am not a very good prop pally yet. So I probably misplaced some of my buttons. I walk into an orb there too. That's less than ideal. Try to get all the kicks here. And I'm just trying to stay alive. I get some good wogs, but I'm sure that I'm not managing something correctly. I dropped my Blessing of Dusk there, so now I'm taking extra damage. And I'm really just fighting. I'm just fighting, and I'm, you know, praying my team gets here soon, because I don't know how long I can keep this up for anymore. And if we get an Eye of the Storm, well, we're already really low, but we get a pretty big wog here that brings us all the way back up to full health. But now we have to live an entire Eye of the Storm that's raging by ourselves. And it is very difficult. I don't know if I could have lived it if I Eye of Tiered. I probably should have popped Kings at this point, but I just was in panic mode. I had Kings available, I had Lay on Hands available. I probably could have lived a little bit longer, but I still don't know if that would have saved the key. We get to this first Eye of the Storm on Herja, and everybody except for me stands right next to each other and quakes each other into instant death. So, you know, that's just how it goes sometimes. We end up running it back, and we kill Herja on our second try. But at this point, I asked the group, like, hey, do you guys just want to run it back on 16? You know, we're not going to time this key anymore, but we can time the 16. They say, nah, let's just complete. So we go boss by boss. We kill them all up. We get Holder down, and then we have Odin left. We push Odin down. We kill him as well. And, you know, we're 4 minutes overtime almost. We still get 18 points. We're 20 away from KSM, so 520 away from our goal of Keystone Hero at 2500 IO. We're still pretty undergeared, though. Like, we're not even 400 item level yet, and we're almost KSM. We're missing 3 keys still that we haven't even attempted yet for easy IO, so that'll be an extra big push next time that we get to them. Unfortunately here, I don't get any loot from the vault, but the DK gets a pair of pants that I need, and the Shaman gets a cloak that I need. So they end up trading both those pieces over to me, so I get a nice little item level boost here. It's really awesome. I got the pants, but I already do have a pair of catalyzed pants that I'm saving. So we'll see how that goes in the next episode, whether I get something in my vault, or whether I catalyze the new pair of pants and save some valor. So be sure to check out the next episode and the next stream when that launches. At the end of the day, we have 3 vaults ready. I thought I had full 16 vaults, but I forgot that we did 15s today. So we have at least a full Mythic Plus vault. We end at 394 item level for the week. Pretty awesome, and 1980 IO. So decent push this week. I'm pretty happy with it, and we end up with 4,800 Valor as well. So whenever we open our vault next, we're going to spend all of our Valor and get as Giga geared up as possible. If you guys liked the episode, be sure to like and subscribe. Check out the stream at twitch.tv/chirptv to catch every Zero to Hero attempt or progression or however you want to word it live. I'd never play my Pala unless I'm on stream, so be sure to check that out. We have a lot of fun. Come hang out, ask me questions about Rogue, about Pala. I'll try to answer them. I'm not very knowledgeable about Paladin, but I am knowledgeable about Rogue, so come and hang out in the stream. Hope to see you guys soon. Thanks for watching.